Well, welcome to another Lightning Strikes Twice, the exciting condensed version of our longer lightning round episodes. And yeah, I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and he's Casey Rochford over there.
hmm And welcome to another exciting Lightning Strikes Twice. Oh, wait, we don't have to say everything twice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
if you
man.
want to watch it twice, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Helps us with the algorithm. But,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we might as well jump into it then. What do
Yep.
you got for us?
Okay. Well, let's see. I guess I don't know what real category this would be, but it doesn't really matter with these. So
Yeah.
um, probably the economy, I guess. So would we be better or worse off being cashless?
Huh. Gosh. Here in Germany, like this takes some adjusting to because it's actually heavily cash society.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really strange and super inconvenient
Yeah.
um, and expensive, not to mention, because even at your own bank, ATM fees are astronomical.
Wow.
Like, like the euro is not quite as much as a US dollar. So, like, 7 to 10 euros, which is probably close to $15 to take
For,
cash out.
for a withdrawal?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck cash. Like,
Well, but that's not the cash. It's not cash's fault there. But see, Germany is also very kind of heavily focused on privacy as well. And that cash, like, there is a privacy element to cash in that when you spend cash, nobody knows where you spent it. And when you receive cash, nobody knows that you received it.
mm,
And not only that, but like, I mean, because companies obviously track purchases. Let's say you go to a store and purchase something and use a little card, the membership card. Well, they're going to track purchases. The banks track purchases. So does the government. Like
mhm.
they kind of like form a profile about you, um, and based on purchases, advertising companies and things like that too. But also there's a potential for your account to be essentially blocked. Like if we had no cash as a backup, well, basically you'd be asked out if some entity decided that you couldn't access your money. There you go.
Mm. I mean, there are kind of ways around that. Like you can use gift cards and stuff, but
Hmm.
then you run into issues where like those aren't accepted, or like it,
Well, yeah, and like if you wanted to buy something, say from somebody on the street, for instance, not everybody's going to accept a gift card because they'd have to
right.
verify. So handing somebody cash, it's convenient in that regard.
But
Although,
but this in this day and age, it's cheap and convenient for even a guy on the street selling his own art to accept cards.
yeah,
It's super easy,
but
and
maybe not for like a homeless person.
if they have a cell phone, it sure is.
Well,
Like
true.
which
Actually,
which oftentimes they actually do.
I think I think stuff like Bitcoin cryptocurrency is kind of like the modern equivalent as an alternative to traditional card banking, Visa like MasterCard, Visa card, whatever, your debit card and stuff. Because it behaves like cash,
Mhm.
but you can like, you know, do a lot more with it. Like for instance, purchase something online.
It's
Um,
actually I I was scribbling down some notes. Actually, I had this like shower idea, I guess, about a way to introduce a new currency and allow it to take over. And the premise of the idea I had was to basically make it so, and this of course would have to be like a fight club style honor system, but you can never, like, there is no cash value. The units of this new currency cannot be exchanged for any other, fiat currency or whatever, or any other currency, period. It just is its own currency. And like the word of mouth would kind of create the appeal, stuff like that. Like it would kind of go back to like a form of, I don't know, like monetized bartering, I guess.
Well, it would. I mean, that sounds a little bit like gold in a way.
Right, but there's a finite amount of gold, and I was trying to think of a way to make it so that like, because having a finite amount of currency is also kind of stupid when you think on a large scale. So,
Well, maybe
um,
it depends. I mean, its finiteness gives it
but
value essentially.
it should be something like an algorithm that fluctuates with population and need and stuff like that. So I was trying to come up with, like, even though I suck at math, I was trying to come up with some kind of algorithm based off of population and this and that, and kind of create almost a floating yet fixed value. So there's never really any kind of like inflation.
Oh, that's time. That's a
Kind of went on a tangent there, I
well, I
guess.
know, but that's actually it could be its own episode. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's a whole that's an interesting topic. I think we've
Yeah.
kind of done something
It's,
similar before.
I think we did once before,
Yeah.
but I mean, it is sort of related because I get annoyed with both cash and credit cards. Like, why not have another way of doing it? Like cryptocurrency is one thing, but like it's always tied to the dollar.
Well,
And
only when you exchange it. You
exactly.
can
But
sell and buy purely within cryptocurrencies. You never have to
yeah,
use the dollar. Like it's only when you want to take a dollar and make or turn it into crypto, or take your crypto and turn it into. And it doesn't have to be the dollar, but typically that's what it is.
yeah.
But
But that
we're
I
going
feel like
into.
is the weak point, and that's why I was trying to think of a way to create some kind of currency that could take over all the other currencies without tying to it at all. Because the
That's
thing
a
is, like, rich people don't want there to be other currencies. They want things to be status quo, right?
well, and
Like,
governments too. They
and
don't like.
governments are rich, but like
Well, because
usually.
they control it, and banking, it's well, that's a very daunting task. But we're now, it's a
We're over the 5 minutes.
we're well over the 5 minutes now. Yeah, very interesting though. So I guess we'll go into yours then. So I'm ready with the timer whenever you are ready with a topic.
I think it's kind of a public health and safety sort of a question, but a bit of a fun mind experiment or thought experiment. Um,
Hmm.
do you think we could jettison the world's plastic into the seas of Titan?
Oh, hmm. Well, I mean, it's extremely resource intensive to get things off of the Earth, even just into orbit, let alone, somewhere else far away.
Right.
And like, because
I mean,
there's the whole, well, just send it into the sun, right? Like all the nuclear waste. Well, it rockets can't carry that much stuff. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's a
but plastic
very
is not super heavy.
well, but there's
You
a
know?
lot of it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there is the I would rather, I think we're better off taking the resources that would be used, consumed, building these massive rockets and launching them to places, and finding a way to repurpose that plastic or contain it
Well,
in some way or process it. Maybe there's some promising things having to do with like bacteria and
yeah,
stuff that
yeah.
can like convert plastics into other things.
But
Like,
here's the problem with everything is like the byproducts, and what kind of got me thinking about this, like obviously I thought about the hurdle of getting it off the planet or whatever, which I feel like maybe that's like step two of thinking about this. But I read this article about the James Webb Space Telescope, and it got a really good picture of Titan, and it's got clouds and wind patterns and all this stuff, and the seas there are liquid,
mm,
but made of like ethane and methane hydrocarbons. And
okay.
I started thinking like, well, like dissolves like. If you jettison plastic into such an ocean, would the gaseous byproducts of its breakdown being ethane and methane largely.
Hmm.
Would that kind of like actually be okay on Titan?
Probably, unless Titan has life that we don't know about.
Hmm.
I think maybe a better candidate would be Venus, because of the
Yeah.
pressure and heat and the atmospheric composition. I mean, yes, granted, if we started doing this all the time, it would certainly change the composition, but
Right.
there's nothing living on Venus to worry about. And its ecosystem, if there ever was one, is completely fucked. Um, like it's in you can't inhabit that place. Like so, well, I mean, you can on the floating in the atmosphere, but not like on the surface. So yeah, that's a very close place to get to. So I mean, if we were to
Yeah.
be able, let's say we had rockets that could do that, that we could just consume, just expendable rockets just for the purpose of getting rid of this stuff. Um, Maybe
I mean,
rockets made
obviously,
of
you don't do
recycled.
it on a regular schedule, right? Like, you could still have landfills where you dump all this plastic, and then, like, once every 5 years or something, you load it onto, you compress it and load it onto a rocket and
Well,
dump it on Venus or whatever. But
that brings up an interesting thing, though. It's like,
ethics, right?
does it?
Yeah.
Well, that and also like, is the plastic really harming anything if it's in a landfill? I, Especially if
I
we
mean,
change
things
our
do leach out of it
yeah,
into the soil and stuff like that.
depending on the type of plastic,
And
obviously.
it's not like it doesn't break down over time.
It takes about 400 years for most plastics, I think.
Yeah, but there
So,
is like slowly like things breaking down and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no matter what, like it costs resources to survive.
yeah.
Like you can't have I mean, this is physics. You can't have like a net zero carbon footprint and be a carbon based life form.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
you
doesn't
can
work.
if you were never born.
Yeah. Like if we lived off silicon, yeah, we'd be like super green, right?
Well, but then maybe the silicon would be a problem.
Right.
It'd be
Yeah.
like talking about removing silicon from the atmosphere. Then, like, you just can't win.
We're just like the junk byproduct of what used to live on Venus as they were ruining their planet, and they're like, oh, let's just jettison everything onto Earth. It
Yeah,
sucks over there.
exactly. Oh
And they're
man.
like, whoops, we created life.
Well, let's hope it doesn't become a problem in the future. Seems mostly harmless right now.
But then we jettison our junk onto Venus, and the byproducts of that make the atmosphere breathable again.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Like a
Huh.
cycle. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. It would just ping pongs back and forth over the millennia. Oh, well, there
Resurrect
we
two
go.
billion year old aliens.
Yeah. Well, that's time. So, well, those are some pretty interesting topics, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody, and well, hopefully you'll come back again to for another Lightning Strikes Twice, the next one that comes up, whenever
You
that'll
have to
be.
watch at least two.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead and do that now. Like, share, and subscribe as well. All right.
Yes. Do it.
See ya.
Do it.